You can speedrun Super Mario Odyssey in so many different ways, from doing as little as possible to beat the game, to doing everything you can. You can push yourself to beat the post-game challenges as fast as possible, Dark Side or Darker Side, or even do a speedrun where you only get moons as instructed to by Talk 2. This game offers so much variety as a speed game, and yet, for me, nothing has reached the heights of the category which is regarded as the black sheep of the leaderboards: World Peace. World Peace revolves around completing the main story in every single kingdom, a task which is too slow for 8 of the 14 kingdoms in regular 90%, with the alterations in these kingdoms leading to World Peace taking around 15 minutes longer than 80%. In these kingdoms we get to do boss fights alongside other cool movement and tricks that we wouldn't even dream of attempting when just trying to go as fast as possible. As with all Mario speedruns, we start off in Cap and do the basic Cap things. Meet Cappy, climb up the left side of the tower, and bop Topper on the head twice. Cascade is more of the standard 80%. Get our first power moon, bop Madam Brood in the face, and get our final moon to power up the Odyssey. Sand Kingdom is the first place where the strats start to differ, with there being a long section of story, 2 story moons to open the inverted pyramid, a multi-moon for defeating Harriet within IP, and 1 for defeating Knuckletech underground, with all of these being skipped in 80%. As these moons are required, the rest of the route can afford only the fastest of moons. Therefore, we can blaze through Tostarena Town, only grabbing overlooking the desert town, an extremely fast moon, and the bird, another very fast one. We continue through the kingdom until we get to the ruins. By up-throwing Cappy and leaving him in place, we can quickly collect this moon and home Cappy in onto a bullet bill, which saves the time you would spend climbing back up. These capture warps are known as dram strats by the community, and they will be used pretty frequently throughout the run. From here we hop out of our bullet bill to grab a checkpoint and recapture, but not to go in the direction of a story moon, no. We head straight to the inverted pyramid. Let me introduce you to the IP clip. This is one of the most game-breaking glitches in the entire run, and skips 2 entire story moons usually required to open the door. By sliding down to try and align Mario's hand with this line, you can then perform a backflip, and then quickly go into a ground pound. By rolling out of a ground pound, you gain an initial burst of speed, but we want to instantly cancel that with a cap throw, by using a cap throw and jump in quick succession, and this will clip us through the door and into IP, despite Nintendo's best efforts in removing it from the game. We need to make sure we're precise with the timing though. Too early and we'll just roll cancel into the wall, and too late will lead to a classic bonk. But once I finally got the correct timing, I clipped through, saving multiple minutes over going around normally. Once we've gotten in, we can dash through IP, ignoring all of the side moons, and then fight Harriet, getting a set of 3 moons in the process. We are then put into Night Sand, and start off by warping to the checkpoint we picked up earlier. We can loop around and pick up 2 more moons, as well as spawning in 2 extra bullet bills. By juggling these bills, we can both break open a cage for the moon, and use the other to make our way to our next destination. Another moon, and then into the underground ice caves. This is a chill place for movement, with this roll cancel bounce to cut the corner to these not so lonely Goombas, as well as these bullet bill jumps, where we dive into Cappy and have him hit into the bill as he returns to Mario to knock off the hat, and simply throw Cappy back to capture. We can do a variation of this jump in the next room, by using a rainbow spin to stall in midair as Cappy returns after the first hit, and get a second cap throw in to get the capture, taking us to the boss arena. There isn't honestly much to say about this boss fight. We can do a little bit to optimize it, like rolling to the edge of the arena so that his fists go past us earlier, meaning his head comes back into the fight faster, but outside of that, we basically just do a fast casual. But once we punched him in the face 3 times, we have enough moons to move on to Lake. Actually, I sorta lied earlier. For the majority of runners, Lake Kingdom is the same in both 80% and in World Peace. Since to complete the story in Lake, you only need to defeat Rango, which is done in the beginner-friendly 80% routes. In fact, the first time I deviated from that beginner route in 80% was when my PB was a 101, where instead of fighting Rango, I threw Cappy out of bounds through a corner and picked up the extra moons there. But overall, Lake is pretty straightforward. On to Wooded. We start off this kingdom with the standard 2 moons, the bunny and the rock. Then take a beeline straight to the moon in the tunnel, This is a very special moon. Why, you might ask? This nut is located right next to a wall, and also takes a second to be able to be interacted with after breaking open the nut. This is very good for us. When Mario picks up a moon, his position is shifted ever so slightly, but this is exaggerated just a little after throwing Cappy as soon as Mario interacts with the moon. Since we are so close to the wall here, Mario gets pushed out of bounds as a result of the backflip and the cap throw, giving us the trick known as nut clip. Now on the wall, we need to act fast to get to solid ground, so cap throw dive onto a small piece of land, and then, as quick as we enter, we long jump out again to get on top of the cliff and break another nut for a moon. This saves watching a cutscene to open the gate, and therefore shaves around 8 seconds off of the run. From here we make our way through the kingdom some more, and stomp on a piranha plant to get our first story moon of the kingdom. With this very flashy piece of movement, it is also possible to skip activating the flower road entirely and just jump straight past it. This surely saves quite a lot of time, right? How's 2 seconds? We can also skip going into the tower entirely. By doing a triple jump and carefully landing on the thin platforms near the top, we can just about scale the tower to land on the fence and put us into the boss arena, where we quickly defeat Spew and move on to the second half of the kingdom. With a precise backflip, we can cut out some movement around the kingdom and head straight towards our target, Torque Drift. We can grab 2 moons that are barely out of the way, and then grab the final story moon for the kingdom. For our final 3 moons, we can collect them all from Torque Drift, who is the most nothing boss fight in the game. Like, the only thing kinda cool about it is we're using the speedy Nutboy tech with the uproot to get around the arena as fast as possible. By doing a little hop on the edge of the enemy spawner, we can skip the end lag that occurs after landing after every jump. We can make this even more effective by then jumping off of the edge of the spawner, which will make each hop we do cover even greater distance, for some reason. Cloud and Lost are 2 of the kingdoms that are the same in both categories, but are both pretty cool in their own right, especially considering their length. Cloud has punching Bowser in the cock strats, and Lost has this funny jump where you hand Cappy over to a Trapetal and triple jump off this tree to land on the tiny section of trunk by the cage, instantly collecting the moon once we can. Metro starts off with us having to take down Mecha Wiggler. On our way we can take very slight detours to grab the 3 moons that are available in this stage of the kingdom. By going fast with our shots in the second phase, we can skip another cycle of the fight before it goes back into being invincible, saving roughly 30 seconds. So New Donk City looks pretty peaceful now, but we're not quite done yet. Our next port of call is to talk to Pauline and start gathering musicians for her, but before we can do that, we're going to need to collect some quick moons along the way, the first of which utilising another dram strategy like we saw in Sand Kingdom, this time homing in on a pylon. For the next moon we need to do a strat called Scoot Clip in order to get the RC car moon without an RC car. There's a secret bit of motion controls built into the scooter, which is only really noticeable when tilting your controller basically upside down. By doing it like this, we can see a very slight tilt, so alongside moving slightly to the left, we can shift Mario's hitbox far enough to the left that he will scrape the moon, saving a few seconds over capturing the guy. After talking to Pauline, the drummer is the first musician we pick up, who is right next to her. We then take the pylon over to a side island, where we pick up an extra moon, as well as our next musician. For the third, we jump from building to building to make our way to the trumpeter, making sure to optimize our jumps for distance as well as speed, with there being 2 moons that we can quickly pick up this way. The fourth and final musician is very simple, just roll and flick with the poles to get him as fast as possible. But we haven't achieved world peace here just yet. You have to clear out the sewers for Pauline, which offers a lot of fun movement, and then we can finally reach what is considered the pinnacle of Super Mario Odyssey, the New Donk City Festival. This is one long 2D section that works on a cycle from entering the festival, meaning we have to play as cleanly as possible throughout, so that we're able to enter the final room being able to tank 2 hits from the barrels, with us then being able to take down Donkey Kong and grab our multi-moon from Pauline, leaving the kingdom with 20 extra moons and world peace for the first half of the game achieved. Snow Kingdom is pretty straightforward. We head straight into Shiveria, and since 7 of the 10 required moons are story moons, we can start off by just grabbing 3 quick ones in the main Shiveria town. Or at least that's what I would be saying if we couldn't just clip straight into the Bound Bowl arena, skipping collecting 4 story moons in the process. Another roll cancel clip here, like we saw in Sand Kingdom, this time into the corner by the screen. It's called Screen Clip. You can also potentially get a moon clip off of this moon like we saw in Wooded, But in this example, I didn't quite hit it. To complete World Peace in this kingdom, all we need to do is win the Bound Bowl race, which is usually unlocked by opening the 4 seals, but the game never checks to see if we've done this. This means that if we can gain access to this area, we can save multiple minutes over collecting these moons. By capturing the Shavirian, we can loop back around and begin the race. This is 3 loops of a track where we try and balance getting powerful bounds and not pressing the button to get shorter hops, as well as trying to utilise gaining speed off of slopes. After a little bit of practice, times in the 52 to 54 second range are pretty consistent, but once you've gotten really good, you can beat this race in around or even under 50 seconds. Also, to call this a race is somewhat overselling the performance by the other competitors. We can pretty easily overlap 3 of our 7 other races, and you have to seriously mess up for even the guy in second to be a threat. After picking up the multi-moon, we have created world peace in Snow Kingdom, meaning it's all sunny again, but we can't afford to leave just yet as we're low on moons. The first comes from the timer challenge, and the second from this bunny. The third and fourth make things a little more complicated, with this putting some RNG, in other words luck, into our speedrun. When this fish goes to bite our fishing rod, there is a roughly 50% chance that it will create a hard vibration on the controller, with it giving us soft vibration the other 50% of the time. We want the hard vibration here, as it means we can bring the fish out of the water, revealing another moon. With 1 moon left, we warp straight back to the Odyssey. We now prepare for one of the most iconic tricks in the Odyssey speedrun, Snowdram. By jumping on top of the Odyssey, we can line up our left foot with this line in the machinery. By then quickly entering and exiting first person, we space out our camera and turn Mario in such a way for the alignment to work. By then throwing and holding Cappy out, we can begin to get a roll boost from a ground pound and start our jump. An important element of this skip is spacing out all of our actions, such as cap throwing, diving, or rainbow spinning, as much as possible, so that we get the most distance out of every input. Something else that is useful for this jump is the technique of vectoring, which refers to the acceleration gained by Mario when he travels at 45-degree angles. With a combination of all of this, we can just about grab the edge of the warp painting platform and pop a quick spin through a roll cancel to grab the moon from the chest. And for all of that, how much time did we save? 2 seconds. Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of skipping story moons over in Seaside Kingdom, with there being 4 mandatory ones to collect before we can get to the boss, Brigadier Mollusk Lance III, Dauphin of Bubble Lane. This means that the route we take is basically just going from story moon to story moon, whilst collecting the fastest ones possible on our way. The main capture of this kingdom is the Gushion, which can spray water behind it to gain speed on top of the water, or shoot water towards the ground in order to go up into the air. This is our method of transportation up to the first story moon on top of this rock formation. By dropping the Gushion down onto the very edge of the lower platform, we can stop it from despawning after grabbing the moon, letting us jump down for another capture on the same Gushion, and getting a quick ride to the lighthouse for a second story moon. Oh, but believe me, we aren't done with this guy yet. Again, we drop the Gushion outside of the story moon despawn radius, so that after we've done a spin pound on the button, we can capture him yet again, and use the speed on the water to move to the next corner of the kingdom. In order to save on memory, Odyssey works on the rule to where if it's not on screen, it doesn't exist, meaning things won't go on their cycle and can't be interacted with by Mario, even if they are just barely out of view. We can abuse this by keeping our camera pointed down in this section, which means Dory's cycle doesn't begin, putting them in the perfect place for 2 very quick moons that we get by quickly capturing a Cheep. On Hot Spring Island, we need to use another Gushion to create a hole in the lava on the surface of the water. One option is to shoot some water downwards, the other is to drop the Gushion down and let it die, with a quick ground pound after putting us straight into the next moon. Another thing with the Gushion is that every time you land on something, it gets a new maximum height that it can achieve. So in order to get somewhere really high, we need to keep landing on higher and higher objects to stack our maximum height as much as possible. Our first boost is gained from landing on top of the Odyssey, which from there lets us gain barely enough height to collect the moon usually obtained first in any descent. And from there we can roll with this height still in order to fly straight into our final story moon, with our final task before leaving now just being to defeat Brigadier Mollusk Lance III, Dauphin of Bubble Lane. This fight is not easy. The first hit isn't too bad, however after getting it, we need to quickly make our way over to the second of these 3 circular islands. Right before you get hit, send yourself up into the air and Brigadier Mollusk Lance III, Dauphin of Bubble Lane will get hit as soon as he is vulnerable. However, we don't have time to waste. We need to quickly make our way over and rub our face against this wall to get him to charge at us. Now it's a race over to Hot Spring Island. Mario the Gushian versus Brigadier Mollusk Lance III, Dauphin of Bubbleane. By beating him here, you're able to get a nice early hit on him, which will then cause the air to get just a little bit confused. What just happened here is known as Boss Clip, and will make him take the fastest route possible to his next location, even if he has to disobey the laws of physics to do so. We then know exactly where he'll end up, and we can space out our movement and a ground pound for exactly where he'll become vulnerable, and doesn't want to move anymore. And with that, we defeat Brigadier Mollusk Lance III, Dauphin of Bubbleane, collect the multi-moon, leave the kingdom, and I can finally stop saying that name. Out of the remaining 4 kingdoms, Luncheon is now the last to differ from any percent, and even then it stays pretty similar to start with, as we perform the tight salt triple jump to collect this moon on top of the salt faster, quickly grab the other moon in any percent, and go straight into the Spew Up boss battle. Now we struggled a lot in order to take this guy down, and the evil Mr. Miyamoto decided to make this fight even harder in the rematch, just to torment us speedrunners. His arena went from being a circle to becoming a rectangle. Oh, poor Timmy's Christmas was ruined when he couldn't make it past. After barely scraping through that fight, we then do a triple jump off this pole to get up to these steps, and do some ground pound jumps to get onto the colourful Luncheon rocks, which takes us over to the Pillar Moon, and another precise triple jump off the corner allows us to pick up the moon in the crate and climb up top. We can then capture a Pambro to break these cheese rocks. The Hammer Bros actually have a bit of RNG associated with them, since they won't go straight every time. However, by getting really close to the rocks, this deviation won't really make a difference, and so we can save destroying any unneeded cheese, as all we needed to do is unveil the lever and the story moon is ours. With well-spaced jumps and movement, we were able to navigate around the mountains, with using this triple jump initiated by a vault off of Cappy in order to avoid going all the way around. After picking up the multi-moon on the meat, we are sent back to the Odyssey, which allows us to do a bunch of cool movement leading into the magma caves, just showing the beauty of Mario Odyssey's movement and why it's such an amazing speed game. Even in my PB here, I slipped up somewhat, and it still looks cool, I think. After a little bit of swimming in the lava bowl, we'll have collected another 2 moons and can get back outside, where we basically just have to do the Luncheon Koopa freerunning. This movement isn't quite as crazy as top level KFR, but is nonetheless another really cool and flashy way of climbing the mountain. With our final 3 moons remaining, we head into the Cookteal boss battle. The general strategy here is to get on the path of the bird when he's directly above us. We jump up and hit his belly, and can ride the puke flume up, giving us 3 chances to jump on his head and finish the fight. This seems simple enough, but some problems can arise as a result of this boss being the worst thing in the world. Sometimes he just doesn't want to get hit, both with the belly and head attacks, as well as the puke, especially on the 3rd phase, being very uncooperative. Something that also happens almost every run is this bit of damage, that comes as a result of Cookteal creating an invisible vegetable, which is pretty cool in my opinion. After defeating the Ruined Kingdom Dragon, we can head straight for Bowser's Kingdom. With a jump over this gap and a triple jump onto the Ogre, we can claim our first story moon. On the next island, we visit a mechanic we skipped over in sand, by collecting 5 moon shards in order to create another story moon. Here we perform the final dram strat of the run. We can throw Cappy in the direction of the spark pylon to get to the next area, while simultaneously turning Mario around in the air in order to get 2 dives in and pick up the moon, with a shake of the controller allowing for Cappy to home in and make some progress. After a rematch with both Topper and Harriet, we are now more than halfway through the kingdom, with one of the 4 remaining moons coming from behind these grates, with our final 3 coming from the multi-moon at the end of the kingdom. We also need to concentrate for this jump afterwards, which we need to do blind as it takes a second for the camera to move again after exiting the pipe. Our next target is the Pokio capture. Once we have one of those, we can scale the wall quickly and make our way into the Mecha Brutal boss fight. In order to beat it as fast as possible, we climb up it just as Mario and stay on by positioning ourselves correctly on the mech and by wasting no time taking down each bubble. We now have achieved world peace in 13 out of 14 kingdoms, with there just being 1 remaining. Moon. On the surface of the moon, we can perform one of the largest skips in the entire game, Moon Cave Skip. Instead of going into the cave, we can go around it to the other side, and use the combination of moon gravity and the geometry of the wall to climb up it, and enter the Wedding Chapel. From here we take Bowser down again, then we capture him in order to escape. After entering the Pillars Room, we are given our final objective to destroy the 4 pillars with Bowser and get out. We are able to shoot with fireballs from afar and use swipes once we've closed the gap to knock the pillars down. After we've done this, the final object to break is the moon rock in the center, and by entering the pylon inside, we can escape Moon and complete the run. Let's go! So that's what you need to do to complete a World Peace speedrun. Who knows if this video has made Weepy look cool, but even if it hasn't, that just means I suck at making videos, because my opinion on this category is objectively correct. I don't make the rules. Now, if you don't mind me, I've had enough of talking about Mario. It's time to embark on my IRL World Peace speedrun. I'll see you when I'm done.